One of the key skills as a leader, as somebody who works with leaders, you could have is coaching. Coaching as a skill is on the rise because of the powerful outcomes it can bring to you and your team. Google has recognized it as one of the top 10 skills that a leader should have, and so has Amazon. And because of that, I want to give you a simple framework as a leader and as a coach that works with leaders to be able to coach your teams in a really effective and powerful way. This framework itself should magnify your ability to be able to get even more buy-in and outcomes with your teams. It works even better if you are a coach who works with leaders and executives or wants to work with leaders and executives, because this step-by-step framework will help you get outcomes with your clients even more. So let's roll it. One of the reasons why coaching really works in organizations is because coaching allows you the ability to be able to create camaraderie, to be able to create a communication style that is more powerful than you just talking at your team members. This is also uniquely powerful if you're operating as an external or an internal coach to the company, because you're able to bring in the team together in a very unique format where you really build an understanding towards everybody that is a part of the team. This step-by-step framework will help you build that understanding even better. One of the first questions that you want to ask to your team members, or if you're an internal external coach to the team that you're coaching, is to ask them, what is the vision? Where do they think the company is going? The reason why this question is critical is because very often we find that in organizations, people have a very different understanding of where the organization is going. We did a test with an organization a few years ago where we randomly selected a few people from the audience where we were talking about vision very frequently and asked them, where did they think the vision of the company was? Where were we going? A lot of them could repeat the one-line statement that the company had, but they didn't really have an understanding or had a different understanding of the vision of the company. Now that was interesting because when you see a very varied understanding of the vision of the company, you can assume that people have very different understanding of what is important to the company. And when there's a different understanding of what's important to the company, guess what? Their actions are not congruent with each other. Which is why the first question to really get into the headspace of your team members or of your clients is to simply ask them, what do you think is the vision of the company? You're not asking this question to trick them or to try and catch them to not know the vision of the company. This exercise is not meant for that. You're asking this question so you can get an understanding of what they understand to be the vision of the company. Once you've had that understanding, you can go ahead and clarify the vision if you want to. But I would invite you to let this conversation unfold to the greatest magnitude before you go in and make any recommendations to the current understanding of your team members. The second question that you want to ask them is, where do you think you are placed in this vision? What is it that you play as a role in this vision? Where do you fit into this picture? This creates the direct resonance that your team members or your clients may not have had until now from the context of the vision. A lot of people think about their tasks and duties as the defined job role that they have been given, which is accurate and correct. But in a lot of times, especially in uncertain times, the way the world is changing, a lot of times our job roles don't really fully explain what you could be doing and should be doing for the progress of the company. What you want your team members to be is creative, is to be able to go, what is it that really contributes to the larger vision of the company? So while the first question clarifies their understanding of the vision of the company, the second question enables them to see themselves as a part of the vision. That allows them to be able to reflect back and say, if that's where I am going, or that's where the company is going, how is it that I am contributing to that vision? Do I fit the picture? If your team members, if your clients find it hard to see themselves in the vision of the company, that may be a red flag for you. You maybe haven't done a good enough job in really being able to demonstrate how each of your team members are vital and critical to the success of the company. And this is the time where you want to clarify the vision if you want, and be also able to show the resonance of your client's work or your team members' work in context of the vision. It is paramount that your client and your team members look at the vision and see themselves contributing to it. Now that we are clear about the vision of the company and the role that each members play, now would be a good time to ask the third question. The third question is, what is it that you could be doing better? This is a reflection exercise that will allow your clients and your team members to be able to reflect back on their current role with a newer understanding if they were not clear before, to now go and say, what is in my role that I can actually do better? What are some of those tasks and duties, or some of the responsibilities, or some of the communications that I could do better? When you invite your team members to reflect on their own task and make suggestions towards what they could do better, they would find white spaces that you couldn't even see. Because they are in the job, they are doing the job, it is easier for them to see the white spaces, see the gaps, see the opportunities of them showing up in a very unique and powerful way. This also enables your team members to actually buy into that growth, that area of growth, because they themselves identified it. It is well known that if we identify a challenge ourselves, we are more likely to work through it. Which is exactly why when you are coaching your clients and you're enabling them to be able to identify those gaps, those challenges, those little things that they need to get better at, they're more likely to follow through and find ways to get better at it. Which invites us to the next question. Once your team member has identified what they need to do better, ask them, what can we do better? And this is more a collaborative question. You're asking for insight from your team members so they can find out what is it that they need to do better as a team, so all of us can collaborate and create even a better organization. When recently we did this exercise within our team at EverCoach, we found some great ideas that we could do as a team better. We are a team of coaches. We are always coaching each other, but we had forgotten to ask the question, what can we together do better? And that is where we identified some golden nuggets that have catapulted the level of communication we have, the increase in productivity and performance that we have had ever since we did that exercise. It is paramount for you to not only find the gaps within the team member's journey and outcomes that they're having as a team member, but also be able to identify what is it together that needs to get better to get even better outcomes. Now, while you're taking your clients through all these questions and your team members through all these questions, please be mindful that you always want to be very carefully listening. Don't interject, don't try to correct, don't try to pretend as if that problem doesn't really exist. Let your clients and let your team members express what is really happening for them, what is evident to them. The clearer they get, the more vocal they get about it, the easier it is for you to really understand what's happening for them. Now, we are already at a stage where we have identified the vision, we know it's clear to our team members, we know what role they play, we know the gaps they need to fulfill, we know the gaps we together need to fulfill. Which brings us to the next part, which is you as a leader asking the question, or as a coach asking the question, what can I do to help? You know the gaps they have identified in their own career path, in their own work on a day-to-day basis. They've also identified that for the company or us as a team. Let's now ask the question, as a leader, what is it that you can do to make their lives easier and better? They will be able to identify some key areas, some key communication points, some key performance points that they could really be able to use your help. It's an ideal question to be asked in this sequence, because at this point they really know where they need to go to get the outcomes as the company, to be able to directly correlate their journey to the larger vision of the company. Which is why their answer to you would be as clear as possible at this stage. They would be clearly identifying how you play a role in their career as a coach or as a leader. So until now, all of our roles and all of the feedbacks have become really, really clear. But here's the last thing that you want to ask. You want them to not only reflect on how the progress will be made, but you also want them to reflect on what may be the possible hindrances. What are some of the possible roadblocks that they may experience as they make their journey towards getting the company to the outcomes and the vision that the company is aspiring to. Which is why the last question that you want to ask them is, what may be some of the roadblocks or challenges that you may encounter as you're making progress towards the outcomes of the company and your collaboration and your role towards the outcome of the company. This will give you some roadblocks that may be outside your control and outside your own circumstances. But it will bring awareness and mindfulness towards these challenges and awareness that these can happen and creating a counter plan to be able to address them if they happen. This is very important to bring to the awareness to the person that you're coaching, because as they get aware about what may potentially happen, what may potentially block their outcomes, they become more mindful and their subconscious mind becomes aware and sees the signs as it happens. If the economy is turning, if something particular about the job or the product is turning, now their subconscious is aware to look out for those clues and hence is able to identify them as those clues present themselves and change direction or come back to you to be able to collaborate on finding the outcomes. So if you're a leader, if you're a coach to leaders, this is a very simple 6-part process that will create great alignment between teams, between the outcomes of the team, be able to identify what's really happening for a particular team member, and how can you as a leader and a coach support your team member to get the outcomes that they truly want to achieve. Now, this is among the many exercises that you will experience if you were to participate in the latest certification program that we've recently launched on EverCoach. So if you want further details on that, or you want to just know more about what is it to be a coach to companies and coach to businesses, click on the link that was posted below this YouTube video. It'll just give you further information about becoming a certified business coach with EverCoach. What are some of the tools, strategies, techniques that we transfer over to you so you can create similar outcomes in companies that you work with? In the past few years, we have been able to create outstanding results with companies that we work with on a leadership level, on a strategy level, on an outcome level. We really believe that 1 million coaches are required today in these times to be able to go out in the world and help small and mid-sized companies really accelerate their growth, really get more and more outcomes, because the world is in dire need of successful small and mid-sized companies. Small and mid-sized companies are the heart of an economy, and you as a coach can help them get to better outcomes, greater growth, greater stability, and create more jobs in the country that you reside in. So if this is of interest to you, click on that link below. If not, let me know what you think about this very simple 6-step process that we talked about while you're coaching a client or coaching a team member. What do you think about that? What did I miss? What are some of the areas that you think we should consider adding to the list of questions that we just discussed? If you love this video, hit that like button. If you think some of your friends, your colleagues may find this useful and should learn about these very simple things that they can implement in their own personal leadership practice, go ahead and share this video with them. If you haven't yet subscribed, I really invite you to hit that red subscribe button, subscribe to this channel so we can send you great videos like this week after week. Thank you so much for watching. This is Ajit Navlaka signing off, and I'll see you next time.